Like everything matters equally or close to equal. In Phoenix, I don't win the championship without my pit crew.
Right.
So everybody matters, and every person, every job in that shop matters. The car matters, the driver matters, pit crew matters. I mean, heck, the business people upstairs matter, just as much as anybody else does. Because if your car's not funded, they're not gonna have the resources to go fast.
Welcome to the Pretty Intense podcast. Today on the show is my very, very good friend, Kyle Larson. We raced together for years. In 2021, he won the championship. It finished up at Phoenix. I was there. That was awesome. He won 11 cup races, a ton of dirt races. He won, I think he said 33 or 34 races in 2021. He had a scenario in the spring of 2020 where he used a racial slur. He lost his job. He had to sell the house that he was building on the lake in North Carolina. His life totally changed, but he made the most of it. He won a ton of races and earned his way back into the Cup Series and had just a phenomenal year in 2021. We talked about his family and just how his family dealt with that and how they've come closer together throughout all of this. Those of you out there that love racing, like we talked about some nitty gritty, what's preparation look like for the season? What does it look like to prepare for the next season? We talked about what matters more, the car, the driver, the engine, the pit crew, all those kinds of things. But we let off with dirt racing. I mean, that's really where we let off with, because he just is so passionate about it. I mean, I just know Kyle really well and I know how much he loves it. So I wanted him to defend it because I don't get it, because it's dirty and it's dangerous. So I wanted to hear his perspectives on all that. And then we finished up with some manifesting. And so Kyle is a really sweet guy. And if you love this episode and you love what you hear on the Pretty Intense podcast, don't forget to click on the subscribe button so that you can get notifications to hear more. Why are you not in Oklahoma?
We'll go there Sunday because practice is Monday.
Oh, I thought it was this week.
No.
It's next week?
Shootout and then a break and then the Chili Bowl.
Oh, I was like, has hell frozen over? Are you not going to the Chili Bowl?
Maybe someday, but no, I'm going. Yeah, we're going to go Saturday to Indy for Lauren Stewart's birthday, her 30th birthday, and then to Tulsa from there Sunday.
I see.
Yeah.
Dirt racing, your first love.
I guess.
It is. I mean, come on. I mean, we know this to be true.
Yeah. I feel like I can talk about it a little bit more now, so that's good.
Why?
I don't know. I feel like when I first got into my other racing, I was maybe frowned upon a little bit talking about my love for dirt racing, but I love all racing. So it's nice that I can at least talk about my dirt racing even more now.
Yeah, but I think that maybe, I don't know, I'm guessing, but after your season last year and being able to, and doing so many dirt races as well, and doing a whole season pretty much of dirt racing the year before, do you feel like it gives your dirt racing a little bit more of a leg to stand on because you're like, hey, look what I did?
I think a little bit of that for sure. I think, yes, me being able to race a lot more kind of and having success in all of it. Because before, I would have success in the dirt stuff and maybe not in the NASCAR stuff. So I feel like you could view my dirt racing as a distraction. But after the season we had last year, I don't think you can view it as a distraction at all. If anything, it's the opposite. I think, a lot of people, as well as myself and my team, view it as it helping me. So with that and getting to race a lot more brought a lot of attention to all of my racing, but the dirt stuff. And I feel like the crossover between fans and series and stuff really kind of helped grow the sport the last couple of years.
Yeah. And Caitlin sold a shitload of t-shirts in the last year and a half.
Yes, she has. We have two t-shirt trailers now. So, yeah, we have two because I've gotten into the dirt late model stuff, and like dirt late model fans don't really care about buying sprint car merchandise, and sprint car fans don't care about buying late model merchandise. And then like I'll be racing, sprint car one night and a late model the next night. So it's hard to switch out everything. And so I've got two trailers that can go different places.
Double down.
Yeah, but she's, it's stressed her out a lot. So we have another girl helping us now, and she does a really good job with that. So it's kind of taken a lot of the load off of Caitlin, and she'll help when she wants to help and approve designs and put her input on things. But as far as loading and unloading and all that, she's got less of a role in that part now.
If you were able to, let's say, make the same money and race dirt cars, would you do it?
I don't know. I think maybe if you'd asked me that question 7 or 8 years ago, I probably would say yeah. But I think as I've gotten older, I just enjoy racing all types of cars. So it doesn't matter to me if it's dirt, pavement, stock car, sprint car, late model, Indy car someday. Who cares? Like, it doesn't matter to me. I just want to. I love driving race cars more than I love making money. So it doesn't. Fact. It doesn't. It doesn't. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me. Maybe like it would have, and maybe I had 8 years ago or more a chip on my shoulder where like I'm gonna lean more towards the dirt stuff just to have their back and stuff. But now, like, it doesn't matter to me.
It's kind of like a cult.
Yes, I mean, I don't know. It's gotten less of that way, I feel like, over the last few years. Because I feel like there's more transition now because you've got other drivers besides myself doing it all. Or not all, but dabbling. Yeah. Like Chase is dabbling in the dirt stuff. Kyle Busch with his son Brexton. And then Kyle ran the shootout last week. So I feel like there's a lot more of the crossover, and I feel like fans kind of appreciate all racing as a whole more than maybe they did a few years ago.
I think probably my biggest criticism on dirt racing, again, because we're such good friends, and obviously we've talked about this many times, is the danger aspect. Seeing people, like people that we know, like I know a lot less people in dirt racing than you do, but like I knew guys that died people were passing all the time. And it's, it always just seems like, I get it if it's your livelihood, but when you have a livelihood that is really good, then it's kind of like, dude, these guys would give up, they give up their job for your job. So does that even play into it, or is that part of the allure?
I don't think it's part of the allure at all, but I don't know. I don't think about it at all when I strap into a dirt car. I'm not thinking about this could be my last race I ever run in my life or what. I just love, I think my passion for racing and passion for dirt racing keeps me coming back. And like I said, it's not about the money to me. Yeah. But I do know there's a lot of people that rely on me driving, say, a NASCAR, cup car. There's hundreds of employees at Hendrick. There's hundreds of employees when I was at Ganassi that rely on me. So I understand that side of it, but I do think the positives of, what could come from you benefiting as a race car driver could, outweigh, the risk side of it. But yes, there's always the risk. And I think anybody could have their own opinion on that. So for me, I feel like it really benefits my racing. And I think I've been able to prove it now the last couple of years, knock on wood, nothing, bad has happened. But yes, I think we all understand that the risk is there and it's kind of part of it. But
that's just because you blow by everybody. So
I don't know. When you were around though, that was a bad few years. With Tony getting hurt, Brian Clausen, Leffler, so many other, many other drivers. Jason Johnson. I mean, and even people not losing their lives, breaking their backs and stuff like that. So, yes, it's dangerous, but there's danger in everything we do every day. Yeah. Even your CrossFit can be dangerous, Danica.
I don't do CrossFit anymore. I still have a barbell in my garage, but I don't do CrossFit anymore. I mean, it's a fact. I'm just so curious about it, So what is it then what's the sensation? If you could express sort of try and paint that picture for people, they see stock car racing, but maybe people don't know as much about dirt racing, and stock cars obviously on pavement, mostly ovals. like, you know, there's a lot going on that you don't really see in a race car. So, you know, but people can visualize a stock car going around a track. What are you feeling like dirt racing, like sideways? Explain it to people. And then what's the sensation that's different than a stock car?
Well, I guess I'll start by like comparing the two cars. A stock car is, well, up until this year was 550 horsepower, 3,400 pound race car. A sprint car, a wing sprint car, is 1,400 pounds with 950 to 1,000 horsepower these days. So it's the power to weight ratio is unreal. Pulls the front tires off the ground, lights the rear tires up on the throttle. So there's so much finesse, and the style of racing is aggressive because the races are short. Main event might only be 30 laps compared to 400 or 500-mile races. So the intensity is really high. And yeah, it's just the track conditions are changing lap by lap because it's on dirt. So it's constantly drying out or getting ruts or building a cushion, and the awareness that you have to have as a driver is something that I think is a good tool for when I go to the NASCAR side of things, mm-hmm. where you have more time to get, figure things out, adjusting to a line and stuff like that. The sprint car stuff is more intense, but the pavement stuff I think is also a good tool because it teaches you the patience, the precision of hitting your marks that I think really helps when I get back to the dirt stuff, especially when it comes to like having to slow down and run the bottom. So I don't know, just they're hard to compare. There is really not much comparison, but they're both really fun.
What's the sensation that you love? Do you love being sideways? Do you love like running by the wall every night? Pretty well, not every night, but I'm sure most nights.
I don't know. I think the sensation of, even though the tracks in dirt are way smaller. You're racing on a quarter mile to a half mile, where the smallest track in NASCAR is a half mile. So, it's just that speed that you feel on a quarter mile could feel faster than what Michigan on a 2-mile track would feel like, even though you're going almost half the speed sometimes. So just because the quickness and the reaction that it takes to, and the suspension, a stock car, like, it's pretty rigid. It doesn't move a whole lot. If you hit a bump, it doesn't move a ton. Where a sprint car, I mean, your car will travel inches and bouncing and flipping and wrecking and all that. So, but I would say the sensation of the speed and my heart rate gets way higher in a dirt race than it would in a stock car race, just because I think in the stock cars you have such a long straightaway to kind of relax and things get spread out. So yeah, it's the sensation of reaction and speed is wild. Which I feel like would maybe be similar to like an Indy car, I would have to imagine, because they're quick and twitchy and edgy.
Oh yeah. I mean, when I jumped back in an Indy car a couple of years ago for the last time, I took off out of pit lane and first thought was like, oh shit, I forgot how fast these are. Like, I accelerated off of pit lane on the back straightaway at Indianapolis, and I was like, oh God. And then I was like, I can't even turn the wheel. I was like, this is so hard. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot about an Indy car that I think is probably similar to a dirt car. Do dirt cars have power steering?
Yes. Yeah, they have power steering, which is, thankfully they do, but it still gets, it can get heavy, a heavy wheel when you're bouncing through holes and stuff. Like, it'll try and yank itself out of your hands. The dirt late model, those cars are similar horsepower to a sprint car, but they weigh, I think, 1,000 pounds more. And there's so much load on the front tires in those things, just the way the suspension is. And on the right front, it makes the steering really heavy in those. So yeah, I've had it where like I go through a hole and it'll literally yank out of my hands and I take off up the track. So definitely takes more arm strength in the late model. But still, again, the sprint car compared to that, like, your heart rate is way higher in the sprint car compared to the late model.
Did you win Chili Bowl last year?
Yeah, the last 2 years I've won.
For those listening that might not know as much detail about you, your season in 2021 was just ridiculous. I mean, you won 11 cup races, 10 regular season, and the all-star race, which pays $1 million, right? Wasn't it $1 million to win the all-star race? You got to try and compete with Caitlin for those t-shirt sales money. So it's good that you won that. And then I don't know all the dirt races, but obviously you won the Chili Bowl. And I know you won a whole bunch of others, which for people that don't know, like these are the biggest dirt races. These are the Super Bowl. These are the World Series. This is the Daytona 500 of dirt racing. And it almost feels like there's more energy and excitement around it than even a cup race on some level. Like you would probably agree. So which dirt races did you win that were the big ones?
Yeah. Last year I was able to I ran a midget, a sprint car, a dirt late model, and a cup car. And I won marquee events on all 4 types of cars. So yeah, I started out with the Chili Bowl in Tulsa in the midget. So the 2 big races I won in the midget were the Chili Bowl and the BC 39. That's in the infield at IMS. In the sprint car, I won the Kings Royal and the Knoxville Nationals. Those are the 2 biggest sprint car races of the year. Yeah. In the dirt late model, I won the Prairie Dirt Classic, which is, I would say, probably like the 4th biggest race in dirt late models. And then, I mean, the Coke 600, the All-Star Race, Phoenix. There was a lot of good big ones in Cup as well. So that's definitely something I'm really proud about. I think I ran 96 or 7 races last year and won 33 of them. So it's definitely a really good year. So really good last 2 years for sure.
Well, because you won everything the year before in 2020 when you went dirt racing too.
Yeah, we won. I think I was 40. I was like right at 50%. I won 46 races in 2020.
I mean, the dirt racing is just crazy. You can rack so many races up because it's just one night. Like when you go to a stock car race or an IndyCar race or something like that, it's a 3-day weekend. It's one a weekend. So, I mean, IndyCar does 20-ish races a year. Stock cars do 38. Basically 36 regular season and 2 bonus races with the all-star. And then the, what is it? The Bud Shoot. What is it? What do they call that now? The Clash, very first one before the Daytona 500. So 38 races, but dirt racing, man, it's like 3 or 4 a week.
Yeah.
Right?
Like
it's 90 on the sprint car schedule, right? It's 90 races.
Yeah. The Outlaws is like 88 or 90 something.
Yeah. It's like a baseball
and I race, I'll race like not just the outlaw stuff. I race all-star outlaw. I can't run for points. So I can go hit way more shows than even a points chaser can. So yeah, like June and July, I mean, I might not come home at all. I'll be, on the road or flying to other dirt races, flying to the NASCAR races. So
that's why you're skinnier than me now. And that's why you weigh like 128 pounds, dripping wet,
Yep. Got to stay. That's my way of working out, is racing a lot.
Dude, it's a lot. Okay. So how does the fam deal with this? Because I mean, Caitlin obviously running the t-shirt trailer last year in 2020. And then I'm sure a ton still in 2021 when you went and did what you did, outside of the cup races. But I mean, that's just a shitload of races. And like, shoot me. I mean, it. I didn't love the dirt racing. Yeah. It wasn't my favorite. My dad loves it. My mom will go. I didn't really care. Wasn't my jam. So how has that gone? Does Caitlin go to all of them still? And then you have Owen. How old is Owen?
He just turned 7 a couple weeks ago.
7. And Audrey
she'll be 4 in May. Yeah, okay. She'll be 4 in May. So yeah, I mean, it's tough. I mean, it's tougher obviously on them than myself, I feel like, but
clearly it's your choice.
Yeah. But 2020, with everything that happened, and then that was honestly it was a fun year because we spent 7 weeks on the road in our motorhome, driving from track to track, selling t-shirts. Like those are memories that we made and we'll never forget. Because it was COVID, so the kids weren't in school, which was nice. This year was a little more difficult because Owen and Audrey both were in school. And so they didn't go to many NASCAR races because really up until I feel like the first half of the year, they couldn't really go with the COVID protocols. And then even at the end, like it's just 1-day shows. So we would just fly in and fly out. So there was no need to take the motorhome, no need for them to go. But they would go to a lot of my dirt races. and it definitely gets tough during the school year. So actually, they just went back to school yesterday, and they're going to go to school for this week. Because it was winter breaks, they just going back, and then we're actually gonna we hired a teacher, and we're gonna do homeschooling now. So that'll make things a little bit easier to travel and have a little bit more freedom, and have the family there with me, and try to find some sort of balance.
I love that. I think that especially with the way everything's going and with all the COVID stuff, like I don't have kids, but my sister has three and two of them are in school. And just to know that, it's always, some schools are masked, some are not,
Yeah.
some have certain rules, some don't, kid exposure, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, and this is just my opinion, but at that age, at 7 and 4, it's like, I mean, learn the basics, but you're not getting your law degree or your doctorate in something at 7 years old. So like go climb trees, have some fun. And, it's cool that you have a teacher that will then be able to kind of still keep them going. But I'm far more on the other side of things with school. Like, I mean, I have a GED, so.
I think it'll be good for us too. And Owen, he kind of struggles in school a little bit, and he has tutors and stuff there. And he really likes the tutoring because it's more one-on-one time, and he can like focus. So I think, having the homeschooling and having a teacher fully dedicated to him is going to be great. And I think he's going to improve quickly. So I'm excited about it. Where my house and my shop are. So we're going to build the classroom at the shop. And
What?
yeah, so it's going to be cool because, we will like walk through the woods to get to the shop. And, maybe once Owen gets comfortable, we can just send him on his own to the shop, which would be nice.
That's really cool. The one thing about, I mean, NASCAR versus, other racing series or even other sports is this off season's just so short.
And I don't really have an off season normally.
Sure. And normally you go to New Zealand for dirt racing for Christmas time, but you didn't go this year for the first time in a while, right?
Yeah, not the last 2 years because of COVID. So yeah, like you said, though, off season for a normal NASCAR driver is short. And then for myself, like I don't ever have an off season. So this year has been really weird to me. I haven't raced since Thanksgiving, which is not that long ago.
You're going to suck, Kyle. You're not going to know what to do.
I know. I feel like I'm getting behind, but so it's been weird. It's been weird to have Christmas at home and be at home and not race. And our house is as clean as it's ever been.
Because of you?
No, well, it's been a teamwork. Caitlin and I both, we've been, shuffling rooms around and kind of remodeling rooms and just cleaning. And it's because we're home. We're never home for more than a few days at a time. So that part of it's been nice, but I can't wait to get back racing. Counting down the days ahead to Tulsa and get back in the race car because it's been too long.
Well, I mean, because when everything happened in what month was that in 2020?
March, April.
So the spring of 2020, obviously having the issue with, the racial slur and then, losing your job. But at the same time, you were building a beautiful house on the lake in North Carolina. So you sell your house. So like, it makes sense that you would be doing renovations in that house that you're in now because you kept it. But like, I mean, you had talked about how, the trip like 2020's like road trip for months and being on the road with the kids and everything was really cool. It had to have been super, super emotional and hard. And what was the hardest part? Because I know that was a good part, and that's so cool to look at the positive. And I'm sure there's even more than that. But what was it? What were you thinking at that time? Like, where did your darkest thoughts go?
So yeah, I mean, when it all kind of first happened, and I mean, you instantly know you made a huge mistake, and then as the days are, there's so many phone calls and conversations and stuff, and really, dark emotional times. The first handful of days is because you realize you're losing your job, and that's everything you've worked really hard for. Your parents have put in so much of their own time and effort, and you've let them down as well as so many other people, and just confusion, I guess, at that point too, because you don't know where your career is headed. You don't know what you're going to be able to do. You don't know. I knew I could always fall back on dirt racing, and that's what I did. But even there, it's like, yeah, that's something I always had dreamt of doing, was being back a full-time racer, but not at 27 or 8 years old, whatever I was when it all first happened. I thought that was something I'd do in my 40s. So it was just like kind of confusing, and that didn't really know how to feel about it. Was happy, that I was doing something that I still loved, and racing and all that. But just, I don't know. I feel like when you have a job and you're in NASCAR, like, you have a plan. You know what your life is. You know what your life's going to be like for however long you want it to be like that. And then, like a light switch, it all changes, and it's like, shoot, now what am I going to do? What am I going to do to make money? What, schooling for my kids, how are people going to treat my kids, stuff like that. It was just, a lot of roller coaster of emotions. Then you're winning races, which makes you feel happy, but you're still not doing exactly what you wanted to do at that time. So it was definitely difficult. And I didn't really see much hope of getting back to NASCAR for months, even with me winning a ton of races last year. And I finally got to a point where I was like, okay, this is fine. This is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, and I'm going to love it. We're going to figure it out. We're going to, travel a lot, and live in the motorhome or whatever it may be. But and about that time is when things started finally coming around to where I could see maybe a path of getting back to NASCAR, and it all worked out way better than I ever thought it would, and just very thankful and lucky and blessed. And then to have the season that we had this year, to kind of repay all the people who supported me through the dark times, felt great.
Who were the most important people during that time?
Well, my family and friends, number one, I think. JP, who my manager, JP, Rod Moskowitz. There was so many people, and then Rick Hendrick, especially for taking a chance on me, and knowing kind of who I was as a person, and knowing where I was going to grow even more as a person. So Jeff Gordon, it's hard it's impossible to name everybody, but
because we know you, and we know that we know your character. You're from California, you're Asian, you're like, there's all kinds of things, like, it's just like, you're not that guy. So I would imagine, of course, that's why there were so many people that supported you. But I'm curious, who gave you the best advice? Was there something that stuck? Was there something out there that you were like, somebody said this and I was like, shit, you're right, or I needed to hear that?
I don't know. I had like tons of conversations, with other African Americans and stuff, and just learning their experiences, of stuff that they don't openly talk about in the public, and just like opening my eyes to their experiences really was a great thing for me to kind of listen to what they have gone through. So I talked to so many people. I had a diversity coach, Doug Harris. He was great. He was kind of, like a really good person for me to just learn about his experiences and what he's gone through, but also he, teaching me other things. So yeah, I would say Doug Harris is probably the number one guy that I could kind of lean on. When it all first happened in those first few months, I can't think of like one bit of advice, but learning his and others' experiences was, like I said, extremely eye-opening to me.
What did you hear that was so eye-opening?
He had, gosh, how many kids did he have? Like 6 or 7 children. And if they were to get pulled over, and how are they going to handle that? How is that going to, result? Him thinking about his children, like, I don't think about, if Owen had his driver's license, I'm not going to think about him getting pulled over and what, the risk of the result might be. So yeah, it's just, and that's not something I ever thought about. Like, I never thought about people, parents wake up on the daily worried about their kids. So, and worried about in that type of thing. So just stuff like that was like, wow, I never thought about that. So just learning experiences and stuff like that was crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure. But what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
Hmm.
And your character came through. Um, so is there anything that in your life you're like, okay, this is like going to change forever. Like this is that thing that I'm not going to do anymore. I'm going to always do this. Or, is there something moving forward where you're like, this is how my life really changed?
I think just having more awareness for what people go through and the things that you say and how it might affect them. And as you know, I'm not the greatest with words, so
Oh my gosh. Can we just pause for a minute and talk about the words? Okay.
yeah.
Kyle has called me bulky. That was fun one day when you were like, you're just really bulky. And I'm like, oh
And I meant
wow.
like strong, like it was
Right,
meant as a
right.
compliment.
Right. And then another time we were having delicious breakfast at this very, very fancy hotel restaurant in California, Napa
This got
Valley.
brought up the other day.
And you had your breakfast. And first you weren't sure what to do with your eggs. And we're like,
Which
put
first
salt.
I don't eat breakfast. That's why I'm
But you
confused.
didn't know what to put on your eggs. So we were like salt and pepper. And then you ate it. And it was like, wow, how was that, Kyle? And you're like, it was
the beef hash, I think it was called.
It was, and you said it was too flavorful.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kyle, you can be a little like what goes on in your head and what comes out of your mouth aren't really jiving.
Yeah, I blame my mom for that. She's worse than I am. So,
Really?
but no, I think this. Oh yeah, yeah. If you would, oh my gosh, yeah. You need to spend some time around my mom, and you would understand why my brain and my mouth don't work together.
Is that why she's always just videotaping everything?
Probably why. That's probably a reason why she's always behind the camera, for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, those are some examples of Kyle being,
I meant bulky as a compliment. And I think you understood, but it took
I have a feeling that in the comments, people will be like, bulky is, if you're a girl, like, I don't even know. Would you want me to call you bulky?
Yeah, but I know I'm not bulky. So I meant strong. Like I remember, where were we driving to, like Charleston or something? And we stopped like somewhere at a gas station or something. And I don't know why I gave you that compliment, what I thought was a compliment, but
Yeah.
it didn't come over as a compliment.
Yeah, maybe we were in Charleston or something like that. Yeah, and that's probably why when we drove home from Charleston on that trip of eating our way through South Carolina, why we stopped. Remember, we went into the juice cleanse after. We went and we just like tried to pile up on whatever they had, because you probably gave me like a complex then that I was bulky. My God, I was thinner then than I am now for sure. I'm like, I wasn't bulky. I meant
it as a compliment.
Muscular at worst.
Okay, whatever. Let's move on. before I put my foot in my mouth again.
You had a super kick-ass season in 2021. I was so stoked to be there at the end in Phoenix. But I'm curious
I'm gonna credit you for your strength in getting my dinner to what I wanted it the night before.
Oh yeah,
maybe without that meal, I wouldn't have won.
Yes, we went to dinner and they didn't have. You wanted chicken parmesan. Yeah, chicken parmesan, and they were out. And I was like, "Do you have chicken?" And they're like, "Yeah." And then they're like, "It's just not breaded." I'm like, "It's easy. Just dip it in egg, put the breading on it." And then she went back and made shit happen. And you got your chicken parm.
Yeah, because me, non-confrontational Kyle, I'm like, okay, it's fine. I'll just order something else. And Danica is like, no, he wants a chicken parm. He's gonna get a chicken parm. It's easy.
It was the night before the biggest race of the year to win the championship. Can we tell another story about Danica trying to get what she wanted done about 4th of July many years ago?
Yeah,
when your cat climbed up a tree because my dog chased your cat. And I felt really bad about that. And so you went down to go see if the local fire department would be able to get
my house is like right across the street from the fire station. So it's
very close. And they said they couldn't. And I was like, oh, really? And then I went and you came with me and you stood way back. And I tried to be nice at first.
For like a minute,
I was nice. And then it was dark. And I was like, I was hoping you could help me. My friends came and like the cat stuck in the tree and they were getting ready. They were doing nothing. There was like 4 or 5 of them doing nothing. And I was like, I really would appreciate it. And they were just putting up the wall. They're like, in the movies, it makes it seem like we're supposed to do this, but we don't. And they'll just come down eventually. I'm like, yeah, when they're dehydrated and die. And it's summer, it's like July in North Carolina. And I mean, I threw some serious shade out there to get them to come. I threw out social media disgrace to them. I was like, look, if you guys don't come, and they came.
I did not say a word. I was like, oh my God, if I could just leave right now, I would, because I felt so embarrassed. I felt bad for everybody. I felt bad for them. I felt bad for the cat. I felt, it was just,
I'm
it was
trying
awkward.
to be better than that. I'm trying to do better. I'm trying to let things go more. I'm a little more zen than I used to be.
I was going to say, you're more zen-like now, so.
How, like, one of the things transitioning from one year to the next is you never really know how it's going to go, right? Like, you want to have the same year again next year. If you do, I mean, I'd be freaking blown away because it was just ridiculous. Mm-hmm. For people who don't know, I mean, the normal amount of races that the Cup champion wins in a year is probably what?
4 to 6.
I was going to say 5 to 7, maybe at the most. You won twice as many on top of all the big dirt wins. So having the same year again would be amazing, and it would be phenomenal. So, but the one thing that happens is when we all get to Daytona at the beginning of the year, you never really know how it's going to go because people work on their cars in the off season. Mm-hmm. Rules packages change sometimes, engine packages. There's all kinds of things that can shift, and you really don't know what happens from that, November through February time with all the other cars. So, how it's going to go is kind of a mystery. So I was never in the shop enough to know, let's face it. It wasn't my fun zone. But what happened? Like, what can you do? What can you do as a team? Like, what do you know is happening? Whose job is it to make sure it's really good the next year?
I mean, so like this year is different than any other year for me because we're going from the Gen 6 car, which is what I was always in, even though it had different rules packages, between years and stuff. But anyways, we're going from the Gen 6 to the next gen car, which is totally different. So yeah, like, I think you can't have any expectations. I don't. Like, I mean, we just won 10, 11 races last year. We could go winless this year. It's just how it goes with the new car. But, so I don't know. I haven't had much testing in it. I was gone while they tested in Charlotte, so I don't even know like how they drive that much.
So far, it's looked like it's a bit of a disaster.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've made improvements on it. But yes, I think they've kind of times kind of ran out a little bit to really do R&D on what's the proper package. But as far as the off-season stuff, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think I'm probably similar to you. I don't know anything about a race car. You know more about a race car than I do. So I don't go in the shop at all and like pick their brains about what they're changing, where their improvements are that they've found, and what's the difference in the cars. Like, I can't even talk about what the difference is. I guess it's independent suspension. The shifting's different, stuff like that.
What does that even mean?
So yeah, I don't know, but yeah.
Maybe people think it's funny that we don't really know that stuff.
Some
drivers are really up on it. Some drivers are into it. They get it. Some of them are really into the cars, but I didn't even know where the sway bar was, and I don't know.
I've looked under a stock car maybe twice in my career, but I mean, it doesn't matter. My job's to drive, and theirs is to work on it. And so, yeah, I think, Cliff, my crew chief, Cliff Daniels, the engineers and crew chiefs from the other teams. Really, I think you have to lean on everybody at your race shop to prepare your cars, especially when it's a new generation car. You got to lean on Chevrolet and even other teams. I think the other Chevy teams are really communicating well right now from what I hear. So that should hopefully, give us an edge or get us closer to where we need to be once the season starts.
If you were to rank driver, car, engine, crew chief, pick, like what rank does that stuff fall? I don't want to go simple car versus driver because I mean, you can answer car versus driver, what's more important. But I'm kind of curious of maybe a little bit of a deeper sort of look into what matters in your opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've only ever thought about it as car and driver, but I think once you start throwing in all those other things, I think then it almost narrows it to where everything's closer to equal. Like everything matters equally or close to equal. Because you could view your pit crew like in Phoenix, I don't win the championship without my pit crew. Right. So everybody matters, and every person, every job in that shop matters. The car matters, the driver matters, pit crew matters. I mean, heck, the business people upstairs matter, just as much as anybody else does. Because if your car's not funded, they're not gonna have the resources to go fast. So it's really hard, I feel like, to say one thing is more important than the other or has a bigger factor than the others. All
right, then car versus driver.
Car versus driver, I would have to give the edge to the car for sure. Yeah. I think you can look at my career. I think, in 2017, I won 4 races. 2018, I won 0 races. 2021, I won 11. So, yeah. I'm probably a better driver than I was back then, but not way better. I just think, now that I'm at Hendrick Motorsports, their equipment and resources, made the car better. So yes, your car means a lot, but you still also have to have a really good driver. I mean, there's nobody that lucks into a win, or a championship for that matter.
Yeah. Well, it's just simple. If you just take like a great driver and a bad car versus a great car and a bad driver, like, yeah. I mean, you can't.
Kevin Harvick won 9 races last year in 2020 and won 0 in 21, and he's an amazing race car driver. So somewhere they were off on their race cars.
Oh, I remember all your wins in 2017 because we flew together to and from all the races, and that jet had to wait for you and all your wins every time. And I was like, here we go again.
I appreciate it.
Oh man, it's okay. The jet was going anyway. Every driver's different. I mean, I tell the truth now about my preparation, but I found it sometimes I'd ask for data and I wouldn't always use it. I just wanted them to think I was. That happened every now and again. Sometimes I did look at it. Sometimes I thought that watching old in-car videos, did that more in IndyCar where I watched in-car and I was like, oh, okay, that kind of helps me get in the rhythm and feel it in my body or what it's like. But there wasn't a lot. Like, it wasn't like, and even like preparation, not only from the technical stuff, but from, physical stuff, like getting sleep and all that stuff. It's like, I had great races where I didn't get much sleep and I had great races where I got tons of sleep. Like, it just didn't, it
goes back to your car was probably good that day.
Probably. It's like you have a good race one and like bad race last week, good race this week. And they're like, wow, what was it? I'm like, well, I just woke up and I just remembered how to drive. So what's yours look like? What do you find matters the most to your preparation, your performance? And it could be nothing. That's a fine answer.
No, so I feel like, I like getting as much data as I can possibly, as much as my team can supply me. And I probably wait.
What? Like that's just like data is a big word. So
I mean, I could pull up my
No, like just trying to like EFI data with,
everything,
speed traces, brakes, steering,
anything, all that stuff. SMT videos that they compile of the SMT, other drivers and what stood out.
What's SMT?
It's you weren't around for SMT? Oh wow. So it's the steering, brake, throttle, speed, trace, all that, and it's put on this like digital. It looks like a video game. Like it like overlaps your car versus somebody else's car and uses GPS and all that, and like it's pretty cool and it's way better than Dartfish. You remember Dartfish?
That's what I was going to say. I was like, I remember Dartfish.
Yeah. So it's like Dartfish is non-existent anymore. Everybody just uses SMT because you can get whatever angle you want. You can break down the corners and pit stops and all that stuff. So
can you look at the car itself? I know one of the things
you spin in real life, your car doesn't spin. the deal because it's just GPS. It doesn't factor yaw and all that. But
oh, so you're not looking at the actual cars on track, because Dartfish would video you, so
yeah.
it's not that.
No, this looks like a video game. Like it's a fake car.
So do you practice this before you go, or is this something you get after?
Well, you can get like
after you've been on track, that is.
Yeah, after you've been on track, all that information during practice. Like when we have practice, you can look at it live of people out there.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, so that's really helpful. But I like looking at anything, whether it be past race history, cautions, pit stops, 2 tires, 4 tires, like when that window is, fuel windows. We look at with SMT is really nice. You can look at like green flag stops and like how far around the corner you can go before you need to start hitting the brakes, and you can link it up with satellite and like,
oh wow, braking markers.
This
and stuff.
Yes, it's like this billboard. You need to get to the brakes and downshifting later and stuff like that. That helps. And so yeah, I mean, I like to just pick apart everything that we can, and usually we have we call them our 5-team meeting on Thursdays, where like the engineers compile all this information and data, and then we have like a hour and a half ish meeting, whether it be if I'm in person, I go to the shop, or we do it on Zoom or Microsoft Teams, and kind of go over all that information just to get prepped, kind of doing your homework before the weekend. So yeah, that stuff really helps me a lot. And then like on the physical side of things, when I'm in town, I still work out. Well, it's not Chip Ganassi racing anymore. It's Trackhouse, but
bulky. Do you get bulky?
No, still not bulky, but I work out with Josh Wise, and he kind of heads and I think he was doing it when you were around. But I mean, not that you or anybody worked out there, but he helps the Chevy drivers a lot. So I do that, and I really feel like that kind of helps me. I mean, it gets physically probably better, but I think.
What do you do in the gym? What do you do? Because Josh Wise is a cardio king.
Yeah,
he's like a triathlon kind of guy, right?
Yeah, but really, I feel like what we do in there is more like hand-eye stuff and
it's like pit fit in Indianapolis.
Sort of, probably. I don't know. I've never been there, but I feel like we more are training our minds than anything. So I really feel like since I've kind of bought into his program more than I used to. I used to never, I used to think working out was dumb, but now I enjoy doing it because I feel like it makes me a mentally stronger, feel like I'm more prepared race car driver, confident. So I enjoy going out in there or going to work out at his place. And I haven't done much of it this off season, so I probably need to get back in, but I do enjoy doing that stuff. And yeah, I think it's definitely helped me become a better driver the last few years.
Well, what kind of goals for, I mean, I don't even know where you go from last year, but are you one of those people that comes up with goals for friggin' New Year or not?
No,
you're going to like start a diet so you get even skinnier.
I've probably had New Year's resolutions, but I've never once stuck through with them. But
tell me, what have some of them been?
Oh, probably like eating healthier and stuff like that.
Oh, you love salads.
I do love salads, but I also love
the biggest bowls.
Yeah, I've never had a bad salad. Never, ever have had a bad salad. So I do like that. But yeah, I don't know. As far as race goals go, I also don't like setting goals either. Because in NASCAR, it's hard. Like we talked about in the offseason, you never know how your next year is going to go. So I don't like really setting goals until you get like a month to a month and a half into the season. And that's like when you realize like, okay, this is where we're at as a team.
Yeah.
This is what I feel like's reachable. Let's try and do better than that. So I don't know what my goal would be this year. I just want to win races and win a championship would be great. But until like I said, you get a month and a half in, it's hard for me to set goals.
Well, what role does spirituality and crystals play in all of this? My fellow hippie. I mean, we used to get laughed at because we kind of bought into.
I'm nowhere close to you.
Do you see my crystal bowls here? Right there?
Yeah.
Right there?
When's the next full moon? Good
question. I think it's we just had a new moon, so a couple weeks.
Get Did you get them laid out and charged up?
I did not. If I remember, I do. I set them. I have these very deep windowsills, and I'll set everything on the windowsill on a full moon. But I didn't do that. But for real. But you're kind of into that.
I mean, definitely more so than Caitlin and Ricky were. That's for sure. Like they would be making fun of you, and I would be like, not really. You know, I'm like, what's wrong with it? Like it's okay. But
have you ever had a psychic reading?
When I was a kid, and I would like to go back, for sure. And they're always like right, which is crazy. Like I've never met this person in my life. Like, how do they know what's going on in my life? So yeah, so like I do like doing things like that makes me have some sort of belief in like the spiritual stuff and all that. But I don't have.
What about it? Like what about the spiritual stuff do you believe in? What do you buy into that Caitlin's like, no way?
Well, I think, I don't know, like, cause it's tough. Like you get into religion and all that too. So, I feel like you have to be like touchy with that. You know, cause Caitlin has her beliefs and her family does, and she's really strong with it. And I don't believe like just one thing. Like I'm open to thoughts and I think that's where, I think just my openness,
you remember
keeps me curious.
Do you remember that night? I think I can see you're in your kitchen, right? Aren't you in your kitchen? Do you remember that night? I was over at your house. We were all there. And I started talking about some Jim Carrey thing. This is what, 2017 it had to have been. And I started talking about Jim Carrey, talking about like something about tetrahedrons. And, you know, it was some video I saw. And then Ricky looked at me and he was like, we're going to get the pastor to talk to her and straighten her out. And I was like, what? Like I looked at him if like my eyes could kill. We were highly judged for our interest in spirituality.
So, like I said, I'm not as far out there, not even close to as far out there as you are. I feel like I'm kind of in the middle of you. If we're comparing you versus like Ricky and Caitlin, I feel like I'm like somewhere in the middle. But yeah, I don't know. I just,
how do you think the world works then? How do you think the world works?
I don't know. I don't think about it. I'm happy to wake up every day and take my kids to school and look forward to spending time with them and going racing on the weekends. But so I don't know. I've never like sat down and thought about it. I've obviously heard, you and then you have like Caitlin and that side. And like I said, I don't really know how the world works. So I'm open to many different ideas.
How do you hope it works? Like, how could spirituality be like something? Because there's a lot of shit going on in the world, and there's a lot of negativity, and there's a lot of fear. And I see my spirituality playing into the whole dynamic in a way that goes beyond kind of the television programming, sort of the way that things appear, and thinking more about the way things really are. And so what function do you think that having a little bit more of a spiritual mind serves you? I
don't know. I need to spend more time with you so you can teach me.
Should we go to Sedona?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, we should. For sure. I think my first like, wow, that was weird moment was, so I was 14, and I just turned 15, and this guy who kind of was like my mentor at the time racing sprint cars, because that was my first year ever racing sprint cars. He was like, hey, I want you to go watch this movie. It was called The Secret. And
I interviewed Rhonda Bryan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you should listen to it. It's very fascinating. Right. And I'll tell you all the stuff afterwards that she told me.
All right. So yeah, I was like, whatever, I'll watch this movie. And I watched it and I was like, wow, okay, that's cool. Like, yeah, I'm really going to try and change my thought process and just thinking positive and how that, reacts to my world. And I won my first ever sprint car race like the next night.
Did you know that? Yeah, I mean, I watched that. I'd watched that and I went and won in Japan.
Really?
Yeah. Swear to God. Yeah. Like I watched it and then I went to Japan and won.
Yeah. So I've watched that movie a few different times. Like not in a while, I haven't watched it, but whenever I would be like in a slump and, having a bad string of races and stuff, like I would watch it and then I would start, having better thoughts and going to running better. And who knows, like if it mattered, but I feel like it mattered. So, yeah, like I tell people to watch that movie or read the book. I haven't read the book, but watch the movie anyways.
I'm kind of more of a movie girl anyway myself. I mean, I read a little bit of books now, but I'd rather watch a movie. I just got
Josh Wise. In my office, I've got like 10 or 12 books that he's given me, and I've read maybe 20 pages of like one book. So I'm more of a movie guy. He just gave me a couple more books for Christmas. But
what did he give you?
Just like kind of that stuff, like your mindset. And I don't know exactly because I haven't read them, but he's giving me kind of like notes about, and really I think a lot of it kind of just comes like to your mind and how your mind can, affect your daily life and decisions and how things happen.
I agree. Okay, back to goals for 2020. You obviously, if your mind is this powerful, let's just create some.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure. Yes, obviously in the back of my mind, like I have lofty goals, but
like, come on, Kyle.
I mean, at least doing what we did last year.
Speak it into existence.
At least what we did in 21, but I mean, it's just, it's hard to know. I'm not going to say, well, I won 11 races last year, I'm going to go win 15 this year. Like hey, it could be done, I guess, but.
So what, 10?
I'm also
want to win 10 again?
I'm a realistic person, but I don't know. Check back a month and a half into the season and I'll give you some goals.
Okay, then, well, what's like, obviously being in Cup for long enough now, you've won everything in dirt. I don't even know if there's anything left to win there. So what races, if you could pick like your top 3 races that you'd want to win in 2022, what would they be?
Yeah, that would be better.
And why?
So, I mean, obviously the Daytona 500, that's our biggest one. But to me now, I always wanted to win the Bristol night race. That was like my race. I wanted to win so bad. And I was able to do that last year. Next would be I don't know if we go to Darlington twice, but a race at Darlington would be my next one. I finished second at Darlington the last 3 or 4 races I've ran there. So yeah. So
for those who don't know, also Kyle tried to pull a video game move the last lap of the race, which was so freaking fun to watch. You tried to pass Denny, which is a good friend, so I'm sure that was a bit of a situation, but tried to pass Denny by going flat pretty much through, like, I don't know if you probably weren't trying to go flat through turn 3 of Darlington, were you?
No, I lifted, but I just didn't use any brake and then just pinned it against the wall. And then once I was in the wall, then yes, I was in the gas. But also I had to come off the gas because I got to him way quicker than I thought I would. And I didn't want to spin him out. So, but yes, it was like, I mean, we've all done it in video games and it works in video games. I didn't expect it to work just as good in real life.
It's your move now. It's your move. Not only that, but it destroys the car. So it doesn't have to go through tech.
Yeah, right. No, I'm glad, honestly, I didn't win that one because I don't think that would have been like the fairest way to win. You know?
I mean, that's respectable. I mean, but that's the guy you are. Like that is who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, it made for a good highlight reel.
It sure did. All right. Well, then, since we're just in a manifesting space here, so we've got Daytona 500 night race at Bristol and Darlington. What are 3 off-track things that you hope come to fruition in 2022?
Well, currently Owen is retired from racing.
That's fine.
But
he loves baseball now, which is adorable.
Yeah. No, I've got him already signed up for baseball camp once we get home from Chili Bowl. But he's talked about racing again here lately. So if he does race, I would love, and I guess this is still on track, but I would love for him to win his first race because he wants it bad. And he's I feel like lost a lot of personal confidence in racing. So I want to see him become a more confident child, I guess, more than anything. I see the confidence in baseball. But just overall, like, I guess with racing, I want to be more confident, with schooling, more confident, stuff like that. I don't know. Caitlin and I just continue to get closer and stronger and become even better parents and stuff like that. What other things could I do? I need one more thing, right, for this year off the track. I need to think about that. I should have known that you were going to ask all these pretty intense questions.
I've got your final question. Okay, where do you want to go then for an off week? Because you get probably two. Is it still 2 off weeks out of the season?
Well,
holy shit!
Yeah, they're technically calling it 2 because there's a week after the Clash before the 500, but that's not really an off week to me. So yes, we only have 1 off week after Sonoma before that would lead into Nashville. So you're gonna be.
Where do you want to go?
You're gonna be proud of me for this. I could race every day in that time period between Sonoma and Nashville, but I'm not. I'm gonna take it off. Caitlin and I were going over our schedules yesterday, and I was like, "Hey, where do you want to go?" I'm not gonna race at all this month. So I don't know. I want to go to like Europe.
You want to go? And I'll just grab my winemaker and we can go to wine tasting. We can go to Italy or France or Spain.
Let's do it. I'm down.
Or maybe Amalfi Coast.
See, you know about these fancy places and been to a lot of them. I know Bahamas and Mexico, so you'll have to educate me on the rest of the world. But yeah, I want to take advantage of those, whatever it is. We could be gone for like 10 days. So I want to do something really cool.
I mean, if I can get you to put salt and pepper on your eggs and learn how to eat them. And
that's probably the last time I've had eggs was then. So.
All right, we're manifesting trips now. I like the direction that we ended up going with that. That's fun because I have a lot of time for that now. Yeah.
We will lean on you for sure. And hey, if we go to Europe, feel free because we need your help. We love going places with Danica.
Oh, all right. Well, good luck this season. Even if you win half the races you won last year, it'll be still an amazing year. And if you win twice as many, well, I mean, it'll be speechless, but it wouldn't shock me either because you're that good. I mean, the amount of top 5s, how many top 5s did you have in 2021?
I don't know. I forget. I'd have to look.
I'm sure a lot.
Yeah, I won 10, so probably
another 10 more.
Close, maybe. Yeah, I think something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
Well, good luck
right now.
And remember to charge your crystals. And don't forget.
I don't have any crystals.
Okay. So when you come out to Phoenix for the race or Vegas, whatever, somewhere in there, we're going to go crystal shopping.
Okay.
I was too nervous last year when I saw you. What?
I said, I can't wait till Caitlin watches this. She's gonna be rolling her eyes. And
oh yeah, she thinks it's the dumbest thing ever. I didn't want to mess with your flow last year.
I'm gonna be honest. When I remember when the first time I ever saw you lay your crystals out on the table outside of Ricky's house, I was like, what the heck? This girl has lost her mind. But hey, it's fine. It's cool. Everybody's got their thing.
Placebo effect. Placebo effect is a real effect.
I think I've heard you definitely talk about that a few times.
It works like 30% of the time. Placebo effect.
Okay.
That's the power of the mind without even really using the mind. Now engage it. And we're going to be on that yacht in the Amalfi Coast, my friend.
Okay. I'm down. Let's go.
Thanks everybody for listening to the Pretty Intense podcast today. I hope you enjoyed it. If you like what you heard today and you want to hear more, please click on the subscribe button.